Hey neighbors, thanks for clicking on my video. It's part of the Crafting or Hoard playlist for the month of April. We have host TOSHA from Sunflower TOSHA and JOANNA from JOANNA's DIY Life. I'll tell you a little bit more about this playlist later on in the video. For now, sit back, relax, and enjoy. Okay, let's get started. Project number 1 I call Wall Hanging Trio, and I started this about 2 months ago. It took me 2 months to finish it, but not because it was hard, just because I made it for a playlist that I ended up not participating in, and so it sat in my hoard for 2 months, and it's also made from supplies in my hoard. I did some black acrylic paint on the back of that calendar image, and the calendar image is strawberries, as are all 3 projects in this video. Got a couple of coats of Mod Podge there and let it dry. And then I started cutting apart the image because I knew I wasn't going to be able to get all the nice pieces on the 3 little surfaces here. So I just kept cutting them and rearranging them and trying to figure out which I liked best. I was trying to get that locally grown, or the leaves, but they weren't going to fit, so I just cut off the strawberries. And I just keep trimming here. Really a lot of fussy cutting going on. And then I use my Hippo heat press and some unbleached parchment paper to get everything down. And normally I would do the whole thing and then use the Hippo heat press, but because there was so many different pieces, I decided to do one at a time because I didn't want to mess up the positioning. And it only takes a few passes with the heat press. Now I didn't paint these surfaces, and I ended up fussy cutting the strawberries out from the background. So it's actually, the strawberries are right on the blonde wood, but I'm okay with that because it's so blonde. So I'll go ahead and get those strawberries down. And if I wanted to, I could have came in with a smaller brush and put some white down. But I thought it looked okay. And I'm going to put this pretty buffalo check border on the sides. And I ended up cutting it in half horizontally and vertically because I only needed such a small amount of it to make an impression. And I'm really glad I decided to do the border. I think it just brings this whole little image together. And I'm not going to bother showing you the other 2 surfaces because this one had the most steps to it, and the other ones are just one whole image, not a bunch of little pieces like this one. So they were quick, and there they are, already done. But I did feel like it was missing a little bit, so I made up some of this distress paint, and it's let's see, black, white, and I think burnt umber. And I'm just going to use my fan brush 2 ways to get the effect I want. So I'm going to use the flat part of the brush and draw it across, but I'm also going to use the brush sideways to do some little lines. And then I can go over the lines with the flat end of the brush to spread it out. And I noticed YouTube creators have been really going for the fan brushes lately. It's like all of a sudden we decided this was like a pretty awesome little brush. And you can do so many different things with it. It's really good for Mod Podging too. But I have my foam brushes for that. That's what I usually use. But yeah, I'm just going to do a little distress on all 3 images. Sort of tie them together. And I kind of like how berry patch is just black and white. It's going to be on top. Then the 3 strawberries are red. And then the one that I pieced together was both. I don't know why, I just thought that that was a cool look for it. And I'm just going to finish things off here with this buffalo check ribbon. It's a wired ribbon, really easy to work with. It's light. I just left a little loop on the top image that you can hang it with. And then just went up one side and down the other with some hot glue. I didn't do a bow or any flowers on this. I thought it was just good the way it was. Because I felt like if I did a bow on the top, I'd have to do a bow on all of them. And I really just wanted to be able to see the images well. This is how it looks like. I love how it turned out. I'll give you a couple of different looks at it during the final review. Okay, moving right along to project number 2. I call it a chalked hanging sign. It is a truck-a-tour sign with truck-a-tour paste, but there are other options available. You can also do paint stencils or decoupage, or even, print the sign on your computer and then just use Mod Podge to put it on your sign. But I'm doing the truck-a-tour project here, and originally I was making 2 signs at once, and I was going to hang one from the bottom of the other. So that's why you'll see me sometimes with 2 pieces of wood here, but I actually only end up doing the top part, which I thought was the most attractive. So I tried a saw, just a hand saw on that, and it just wasn't working. So I actually scored it with that utility knife there a couple times and broke it. I kind of snapped it. And the only thing about doing that is it got kind of an uneven edge. So I just kind of sanded it so it wasn't rough. And then I figured a couple coats of paint and Mod Podge, it won't be as noticeable. I made some hanging ropes, or some hanging holes, or holes for a hanging rope, now, just to get it over with, so I didn't have to worry about doing it when I had all of the stuff on there already. So this is my Magnolia Vintage White chalk paint, and it's super thick, so I always have to give it a good stir, and then I just topped out that paint and spread it, and then I painted the whole sign, and I believe it's 2 coats of Mod Podge after. I knew I was going to forget that. That's why I put that up there like that. Okay, so now that that's dry, I made some border lines, and I'm going to use this buffalo check napkin, and I wish I had done it the straight side on the inside. I think it would have came out a little bit better because I did the straight side on the outside, and then you see here I ended up trying to figure out what was the best way of cutting off the excess, and you'll see I ripped it on the end there, but I came back and fixed that with a marker, and it's actually not that visible. I wanted beads on the hanging rope, so I painted 4 beads red, but when I was making the hanging rope, I couldn't find the 4th one. So I just ended up using 1 red bead on each side, and then it was actually just underneath something, but I had already knotted the strings, so yeah, only one red bead on each side. And then since that sign had sat for a while, it's current day now, and the sign had sat for a while, so I just used a baby wipe there to clean it off, because you want a nice clean surface when you're doing truck-a-tour. I fuzzed the stencil on my shirt because it's the first time. I made sure it was down there nice and tight. And there's lots of sticky parts of the stencil that are hanging onto the sign. So this actually came out pretty good. I didn't have a lot of bleed through. I always expect a little, and I'm always prepared to fix it up. But basically you want to spread the color and get all the holes filled in, and then scrape up the excess and then peel it off right away. And you see I'm trying to just fix there's a little blob there at the end. I was actually just using my finger and then a Q-tip. Just did a little Q-tip to do the edges. And since the chalk paste hasn't been fixed yet, I was able to do that. And then I came in with the hairdryer on high heat. And now that's like on there. And I'll do some Mod Podge later to make sure it doesn't rub off. Right now I'm just going to do a quick bow in the middle. I actually measured it to make sure that I got it right in the middle. I just used this, it's like a faux burlap ribbon, that red ribbon. And then the shoelace bow is kind of plasticky. But I thought they looked good together. You see me pointing to myself where I'm going to put it. I just hot glued the shoelace bow right on top there. And then I used some tacky glue in the middle. I just didn't want everything to be hot glue, because if it sits in storage, it has a tendency to, you know, get handled too much or rub against things, or even if I put it in the garage, the hot glue doesn't stay for very long, maybe a year or maybe not even. So you just want to baby it if you have hot glue on it. So that's why I put a little bit of extra tacky glue there. Getting my beads on there, and I'm going to put the rope in front to back. Some people don't like that because of the way it hangs, but I wanted the beads to show better. And quick coat of Mod Podge, which I should have done earlier, but I just wanted to get that chalk image sealed in there. And I'll give you some really nice looks of this during the final reveal. Hey neighbors, are you enjoying the video so far? I hope if you are that you will like and subscribe. I wanted to jump in with a little bit more information about the playlist. You can find the channel links for our hosts and a link to the playlist in my description box below. So let's get on with project number 3. Alright, project number 3 is a strawberry themed floral crate. And what budget crafter doesn't have a Dollar Tree crate in their hoard? So I was going to do a big flower pot, but I chose to do this crate instead, and I'm going to put some little flower pots inside it. That way you can switch them out if you want, or use the crate for some kind of storage, or you know, just put different little things in it. You have to leave the pots in. So that's why I chose to do it this way. I'm doing the 3 colors for the 3 sections. And I just chose a black for the bottom. I used my chalk paste because it was there. Used the red. That's chalk paint as well, but it's like super dried up. So I actually had to wet my paintbrush and then rub it around inside the bottle. And then I used white acrylic paint for the tops. I actually used 3 different kinds of paint, which is kind of weird and probably don't recommend, but you know, I was sitting down and I didn't feel like getting up, and that's what I had in front of me. And there's those little 2 little pots there, and they fit in perfect. Terracotta pots. That's what I was trying to remember that word, terracotta. Okay, so the letters are not going to fit. I sort of tried every which way, so I'm just going to do the strawberries, and I knew in advance I was going to have a hard time because there's not a lot of sticky surface on the actual area where the strawberries are, and I had to cut it away from the words just because it would have been really hard to keep it from bleeding into the words. So I'm trying to be delicate here, but ooh, it was a mess when it came out. But not to worry, because you can do a lot of cleaning up very easily with chalk paste, and that's what I like about it. I just moved the stencil a little bit more so I could get the 2 strawberries on there as fully as possible, and I didn't like the way they were sitting without moving in between. Then I'm coming in with the green color for the top, and now it's actually starting to look like a strawberry. But again, you know, there's not a lot of sticky part, so I had to be really careful, and I probably could have used a smaller scraper or a spatula. I don't buy them small. I actually buy larger ones and then cut them like medium size and small size. Okay, so we got an image here, and as it gets cleaned up, it's looking more and more like 2 strawberries. And I actually have like a little baby wipe in my hand there, and I'm just like trying to clean up the edges. I even used like the package to try and scoop up and scoop in bits of paste. And then I couldn't find the rest of the stencil that had the dots on them, but that's fine because dots are pretty easy to make. Then I came in after all that with some white paint, and I just did all the visible parts of the white on that front part. I noticed the top kind of looked unfinished, so I spread some green there, and then I rubbed that green on the top of the pot as well. You're not really going to see the pot, but I wasn't sure, and if you're handling them, I wanted it to match still. So I did rub some red on the body of the pot. And now I'm coming in with these picks. I have a bag of picks that have already been trimmed and pulled off different pieces, and don't have a very long stick part to it. So it's perfect for these small pots. And just a little bit of white there in the middle, because I think strawberry blossoms are white. And when I was happy it was full enough, I put in a couple more picks of boxwood there, and then I have this old, I think it's raffia, old raffia, and I put that in at the top, and this is all done and beautiful and better look in the final reveal.